So there's this pretty crazy situation going on with Subnautica 2 right now, and I'll be honest with you guys, I did not expect this to be happening so close to the early access release. But here we are, and today I want to cover what is going on, what this whole drama is about, where it started, and where we are currently at. So for anyone who is unaware of the situation, essentially Subnautica 2 has been in development for a couple of years now. Unknown Worlds, the studio that made the first Subnautica, they were bought by Krafton, which is the publisher behind PUBG and various other games, and through Krafton, they essentially would get the money they needed, the budget they needed to make Subnautica 2 better, bigger, greater than ever. But right before the early access was supposed to begin now, 3 of the main members, well, the 3 creators, so to speak, of the original Subnautica were all fired right before the finish line of the early access version. So what happened? What is going on? It's really complicated, but let's get into it. Okay, so back in 2021, that's when Krafton acquired Unknown Worlds. And after they acquired the studio, Unknown Worlds then started working on, or well, they had probably been working on another game for a while called Moonbreaker. And this was a turn-based strategy game that when it released, it got some mixed reviews, but the biggest problem with Moonbreaker was that it had a lot of microtransactions on release, and the game got heavily criticized for that. Krafton got heavily criticized for that, and Unknown Worlds. And so after a while, they actually pulled the microtransactions from Moonbreaker, so you could now earn these items in-game, which was a good move, but yeah. After the whole Moonbreaker situation, what Krafton did was they asked the co-founders and the founders of Subnautica to start focusing more on Subnautica 2. And then a couple of years passes and Unknown Worlds keeps working on Subnautica 2 up until April 2025, when we got our first look at Subnautica 2 and what's been going on behind the scenes. And if you saw the dev vlog there, well, it looks pretty exciting. Like, they showcase some new stuff, some very familiar stuff if you're a fan of Subnautica, and people were hyped yet again for Subnautica. And I was also one of the people that were like super excited for this because I am such a big fan of the first game. So I was looking forward to this a lot. This was also the announcement where they talked about how you will now be able to play with your friends. It's going to be a multiplayer, sort of like soft multiplayer. It will be optional, of course, like it's going to be like focused on single player still, but you can still bring your friends. And it seemed like a natural like progression of Subnautica as a series. And this announcement made Subnautica 2 one of the most wishlisted games on Steam. And things looked pretty good for a couple of months up until the 2nd of July, that is this month, where Krafton announced that they are, well, replacing the leadership of Unknown Worlds. And they replaced the leadership with one particular CEO known for having been a big part of the Callisto Protocol. You guys remember that game? I know what you're all thinking. I was thinking it too. But in any case, the 3 creators of Unknown Worlds were, of course, Charlie Cleveland, Max McGuire, and Ted Gill. And the weird thing about this, which also spooked a lot of people, was that there was no really clear reason given for why they were all let go, like why they were suddenly replaced with one figurehead. And there was like a big public outcry from especially like Subnautica fans on the Subnautica Reddit and stuff like that. And yeah, just looking at the reactions on the official Subnautica subreddit, people were obviously like super shaken by this. Like, what is going on? What is happening? Why did they just replace like the original creators? Like, obviously it's like a big huh? Like, we have comments from Wrong Tension here saying, GG's everyone, we'll always have the original. Like, instantly people know something was up. And now because Krafton is one of those publishers that people just generally don't trust very much, there was a lot of worries about like microtransactions, like this is going to become a live service Subnautica, which most people just don't really care for. But then, you know, because Unknown Worlds saw the reaction, they actually responded officially. And here's the post. A letter to our community. Hello, Subnauts. We know that a lot of you have questions and concerns about the news from our publisher regarding the leadership changes at Unknown Worlds. First, we want to take a moment to reflect on the vision and core values of exploration and discovery that have defined Subnautica from the very beginning. They have not only shaped the identity of the entire series, but they continue to guide how we think, build, and create every day. We believe strongly in those values and are dedicated to upholding them in Subnautica 2. We're also supporting Steve Papoutsis as he transitions into his role as CEO at Unknown Worlds. He's already expressed his excitement to check out everything we've been working on and is diving into supporting our ongoing vision and journey to release Subnautica 2 Early Access. When it comes to Subnautica 2, the team that has been working on the game day to day over the last few years remains completely unchanged. That team includes veterans of the Subnautica series dating back to the earliest days of the original Subnautica, to the many incredible and talented developers who came aboard to help us bring our vision for Subnautica 2 to life. The world and experience we've been crafting is something that we're all extremely proud of. From the story we're hoping to tell to every creature big and small, down to the tiniest rock, we want to reassure you that Krafton feels strongly about supporting that vision at the studio as we continue to navigate the game toward early access. Our commitment to open development and crafting Subnautica 2 alongside our community during early access hasn't changed. We believe strongly in listening to your voices and have already received invaluable feedback from hundreds of community members who have participated in early playtests of the game. We want to ensure, along with full support from Krafton, that Subnautica 2 meets the highest quality standards and delivers on your expectations. While we work closely with Steve and get him up to speed with all the amazing work the team has already done in Subnautica 2, we also understand that it means we'll need to ask you to remain a little patient and support us as he comes on board. An update to our schedule and more information, including the early access timeline, will be out soon. One final thing we want to address, as we've seen some additional concerns about it: nothing has changed with how the game is structured. It will remain a single-player first experience with optional cooperative multiplayer. No subscriptions, no loot boxes, no battle pass, and no microtransactions. So, everything seemed alright. Right? Everything seems good. There is no microtransactions. There's not going to be any forced battle pass. There's not going to be a bunch of subscriptions and loot boxes. Sounds good to me. But the question, of course, still remained. Why did they get rid of the 3 creators of Subnautica? Like, it doesn't really make sense. Like, why would you get rid of the guys who came up with the idea? And that's where Charlie Cleveland came in and actually spoke out about what is going on. And of course, Charlie Cleveland is the original creator of Subnautica. And so he posted a personal letter not only on his own blog, but also on Reddit. And this is quite lengthy, so I'm just gonna compress it for you guys. So essentially what he talks about the story about how Subnautica came to be and how excited they've been to build Subnautica 2 and how they've been progressing steadily with the game. Everything has been going pretty swell. Like, he starts off describing how they struggled with starting off with like Half-Life mods and such, and then building slowly to Subnautica. And it's a very, very personal and interesting read, and I suggest you read it by yourself because it's really cool to see like how he sees the entire journey and how that was. But what we can take from this letter is that he says, so with all this as background, I hope you can see why we were so excited to release Subnautica 2 into early access. Many of the folks that started the journey with us nearly 20 years ago have worked hard on Subnautica 2, and they're joined by some incredible new talent who were drawn to the studio by their love of games and their passion for the way we've made them. We know and love that the expectations for the sequel are high, but the team has poured their hearts into the game and their dedication really shows. We helped pioneer early access, and our community seems to love it just as we do. It's the best way to develop a game like this. So you can see why for Max, Ted, and myself, the Unknown Worlds team, and then for our community, the events of this week have been quite a shock. We know that the game is ready for early access release, and we know you're ready to play it. And while we thought this was going to be our decision to make, at least for now, that decision is in Krafton's hands. And after all these years, to find that I'm no longer able to work at the company I started stings. I want you to know that whatever happens to the future, to the team, and to the game, our priority is and has always been to make the best damn game we can for the best community in the world. With your George plushies and your hand-drawn fish fan art, and yes, your hard-earned dollars, you've supported us in every way, in every season, cold and warm, since Half-Life modding was even a thing. I also want you to know that this is not where the story ends. Now, obviously, the support for Charlie here was massive. Like, all the responses have been positive. Everybody seems to be trusting following Charlie and the original leadership here. Everybody seems to be completely against Krafton and their decision here because obviously, I mean, it's Krafton we're talking about, right? It's yet another publisher. But yet again, we still didn't know the full story here, but what Charlie is saying is that there will be the full story and we will hear it. Now, right around then, Jason Schreier, yes, that reporter guy from Bloomberg, essentially reported that apparently Krafton had signed an agreement with the CEO and his friends, like the original creators of Subnautica, that when they bought Unknown Realms and when they were working on Subnautica 2, if they could get the game ready for an early access release before the end of 2025, they would be getting a $250 million bonus that they could split among the entire team. That is huge. And according to Charlie, it was ready to ship in early access again. But that was apparently the agreement, according to Jason Schreier. And so this really created this huge explosion everywhere, because if Krafton laid off the 3 guys they agreed with that they would give a $250 million bonus to Unknown Worlds if they could ship it before the end of 2025, they have now fired those people that are responsible for the full vision of the game and delayed the game to 2026. Like, yeah, that is kinda sussy. Like, that is very suspect as hell. But then, and this is really where the chaos really started, Krafton officially went out and said, no, that is not the case. We are not trying to, skip out on paying $250 million as a bonus. This is the actual reason. And I was actually shocked reading this because it's like, wow, they're actually dragging these guys through the mud. I did not expect a publisher to do this. But on the official Krafton website, they publicly released this, okay? To our 12 million fellow Subnauts, inevitable leadership change driven by project abandonment despite holding 90% of earnout for themselves. They're essentially saying that, these 3 guys, they were supposed to be splitting 90% of the bonus among themselves and just have like the rest of the studio get 10%. Okay? First and foremost, we sincerely thank you for your continued support, passion, and an unwavering dedication to Subnautica. We wish to provide clarity on the recent leadership changes at Unknown Worlds, a creative studio under Krafton. Background of leadership change. Krafton deeply values Subnautica's unique creativity and immersive world building. To provide fans with even better gaming experiences, we acquired Unknown Worlds, fully committed to supporting Subnautica's future success. We collaborated closely with the studio's leadership, who were central to the creation of the original Subnautica to foster the optimal environment for a successful Subnautica 2. Specifically, in addition to the initial $500 million purchase price, we allocated approximately 90% of the up to $250 million earnout compensation to the 3 former executives, with the expectation that they would demonstrate leadership and active involvement in the development of Subnautica 2. However, regrettably, the former leadership abandoned the responsibilities entrusted to them. Subnautica 2 was originally planned for an early access launch in early 2024, but the timeline has since been significantly delayed. Krafton made multiple requests to Charlie and Max to resume their roles as game director and technical director respectively, but both declined to do so. In particular, following the failure of Moonbreaker, Krafton asked Charlie to devote himself to the development of Subnautica 2. However, instead of participating in the game development, he chose to focus on a personal film project. Yikes! I mean, they just dropped that right there, that he was focused on working on a hobby, but, maybe he can do both? Anyway, Krafton believes that the absence of core leadership has resulted in repeated confusion in direction and significant delays in the overall project schedule. The current early access version also falls short in terms of content volume. We are deeply disappointed by the former leadership's conduct, and above all, we feel a profound sense of betrayal by their failure to honor the trust placed in them by our fans. This feels awfully a lot like shit-slinging to me. Like, this is like, it's so worded in such an aggressive way that, yeah, these guys, fuck them. This does not sound like something that a company would usually write because, they're literally entirely blaming the former team for something we don't know the situation of entirely yet. But anyway, Krafton's full support for the dedicated development team. To uphold our commitment to provide you with the best possible gaming experience, we made the difficult yet necessary decision to change the executive leadership. Subnautica 2 has been and continues to be actively developed by a dedicated core team who share genuine passion, accountability, and commitment to the game. We deeply respect their expertise and creativity and will continue to provide full and unwavering support, enabling them to focus solely on delivering the exceptional game you deserve. Additionally, Krafton has committed to fair and equitable compensation for all remaining Unknown Worlds employees who have continuously and tirelessly contributed to Subnautica 2's development. We believe that the dedication and effort of this team are at the very heart of Subnautica's ongoing evolution, and we reaffirm our commitment to provide the rewards they were promised. Fans will always remain at the center of every decision we make at Krafton. Moving forward, we promise transparent communication and continued efforts to sustainably develop and expand the beloved Subnautica universe. Honoring your trust and expectation is a core tenet at Krafton. We are committed to repaying your patience with an even more refined and exceptional gaming experience. You know, words is one thing, but actions is another. And I gotta say, like, this feels a lot like we are the good guys here. We're gonna give the full team compensation for their work. Fuck these three guys. They're out of here. Screw them. It feels like they are just either really angry or they're really trying to blame some other party, aggressively speaking, that is. However, the thing is, Charlie also seems pretty hell-bent on making sure that the truth comes out about this. But let's continue, because it doesn't stop here. And of course, just to remind you, Subnautica 2, along with this message, got pushed back to 2026. And we get a lot of word vomit again about how excited they are and how good it looks and yada yada yada. And I will admit they released a small teaser for Subnautica 2 together with this statement, and it looks pretty well. It looks Subnautica. It looks like Subnautica, like a sequel to Subnautica. And here's the thing, right? Charlie and also Krafton have both said that the original team, the people that are actually working on the game, the devs themselves, have created something very special here, and they are like both sides of this issue are saying that the devs themselves have created something great. So I would assume that the game is still going to be good, but this entire situation between these two is yikes. But in any case, like it's kind of comforting to know that at least it seems like the core devs that have been working really hard at this game, like slaving away at making this a good game, they've created something good here, okay? But we'll have to see, of course. Who knows? Maybe they will do stuff like cram it full of microtransactions like on day one or something like that, because who knows, you know? It's hard to say with publishers these days. Now, here comes the final bombshell for today. Charlie, back yet again, releases this letter on Reddit and his blog, Lawsuit, a community update from Charlie. Hello everyone. It continues to be an explosive and surreal time for the Subnautica team and the community. None of this is what we wanted, but we truly appreciate the amazing support we've gotten from everyone. It means a lot to us, especially now. As I wrote last week, we know in our souls that the game is ready for early access. That's just how we roll, and we'd like nothing more than for you to play it. Game devs live for this, but it's not currently under our control. We've now filed a lawsuit against Krafton. The details should eventually become at least mostly public. You all deserve the full story. Suing a multi-billion-dollar company in a painful, public, and possibly protracted way was certainly not on my bucket list, but this needs to be made right. Subnautica has been my life's work, and I would never willingly abandon it for the amazing team that has poured their hearts into it. As for the earnout, the idea that Max, Ted, and I wanted to keep it all for ourselves is totally untrue. I'm in this industry because I love it, not for riches. Historically, we've always shared our profits with the team and did the same when we sold the studio. You can be damned sure we'll continue with the earnout and bonus as well. They deserve it for all their incredible work trying to get this game into your hands. So stay tuned, Charlie. And a top comment on Reddit here says, "Get him, fuck Krafton." Now, I want to bring some balance into this, right? I don't trust Krafton. I barely trust any publisher out there at all. But we don't have all the evidence right now. But I am gonna say that Charlie saying that the truth needs to get out there, it feels like Krafton did what a lot of people have been saying, that they essentially tried to pull out of the deal by firing the three creatives at the start. That's what it feels like to me, but I don't want to put words in their mouth. I don't want to make it seem like this is actually the case because we don't have the evidence for this, but it seems like a very suspect situation overall. And I mean, $250 as bonus is not a small deal. That's that's a lot of money. Like, they already purchased the game for $500 million, and then, you know, having a bonus for $250 million, that's a lot of money. So, you know, we'll have to see. It's entirely possible that what Krafton says is true as well. We simply don't know yet, but it's a developing situation, and I'll probably make an update video at some point when we find out more. So remember to subscribe for that. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today, guys. Thank you for watching and have a great day. Mr. Alton, signing off.